Yes, it's Christmas! And you know what that means? Another Christmas video game. That's just as joyous as the previous ones, I'm sure. Well, it's sort of a Christmas game. I mean, they mention Christmas, and there's snow in it, so I guess that counts, right?
Based on a book by C.S. Lewis, Disney and Walden Media's The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe tells a story of the 4 Pevensey children and their discovery of a mystical land hidden in a wardrobe. One thing leads to another, and they eventually need to seek out Aslan the Lion and wage war against an evil witch, responsible for inflicting a 100-year-long winter on all the world's inhabitants. To my surprise, as a relative newcomer to this franchise, I actually enjoyed this movie more than I expected to. I don't think it's anything special particularly, but it's a solid movie nonetheless.
But as usual, we're not here to talk about the movie, but the tie-in video game. Is it a solid adaptation, or will it leave me feeling cold?
First off, the game actually follows the movie fairly well. Kind of. It certainly helps if you've watched the movie beforehand, as the narrative abruptly jumps forward a few times. It genuinely feels as though you arrive in Narnia, and suddenly in no time you're on the road to becoming royalty.
King Peter the Magnificent.
There's really not much build-up. One thing I do appreciate about this game is the attempt to blend the movie clips with the game's cutscenes. Every so often, a movie clip will dissolve into the cutscene, sometimes creating a near-seamless transition. However, this does have its disadvantages, most noticeably the fact that the children in this game look nothing like their real-life counterparts, and that's actually an understatement. In all honesty, they look downright hideous. Case in point, this is supposed to be Lucy.
What did they do to you?
Are you alright? You look awful.
The kids all give off a very uncanny valley feel to them, and I really feel sorry for the actors here, because their game incarnations are just not the least bit flattering. I know it's PS2 era, but Jesus, they're the stuff of nightmares. And don't get me started on Peter, who looks like some kind of weird pudgy alien. Why has he suddenly gained about 5 stone?
I think somebody's had one too many mince pies this Christmas.
The game begins during an air raid, and the objective is to find all the kids and escape the house.
Hurry! We have to stick together!
As would be expected, there's a time limit throughout this level, although the most lucrative way to retrieve coins and bonus items is by repeatedly punching the furniture. Which seems a bit counterproductive to me.
Yeah, the house is already being bombed. You didn't have to overdo it.
Me play piano good. As you progress throughout the game, you earn new abilities, which need to be purchased with all the coins you've collected. In this case, Peter needs to unlock the double damage ability to double his damage, really. I love that the game gives you a thorough explanation of what this is. I mean, thanks and all, but I don't think this was entirely necessary, really.
The floorboards! They're too weak, they won't support us!
All the children have their own abilities. As the smallest characters, Lucy and Edmund can walk across delicate surfaces. Lucy can also slide into small spaces, while Edmund has the ability to climb poles, for some reason. Immediately as you finish the first level, the game jumps forward dramatically. It's actually pretty funny. As soon as you escape the house, suddenly the mom just throws the kids on a train with absolutely no explanation.
My mum will miss you, we'll see you soon!
Personally, I don't blame her. Goodbye! Don't come back, you freaks!
The kids then arrive at the professor's house. Before long, Lucy finds Narnia, where she meets Mr. Tumnus.
How would it be if you came and had tea with me?
Stranger danger! Stranger danger!
Oh, and Edmund is also randomly here, even though he's not supposed to be, because this is a multiplayer game, of course. The pair have to collect these tokens to unlock team-up abilities. These allow the kids to work together to progress. In this case, there are chunks of ice blocking the path, and Edmund and Lucy can team up to destroy them by, well...
I can't believe I'm saying this, but you have to throw your little sister into the ice. I'm not joking, look!
Yes, I can assure you, this is actually happening. Lucy can indeed be thrown to destroy objects in the way.
What is it with all these Christmas games and child cruelty? Still, at least it's not forced labour like last year.
Dig! Shovel! Dig! Shovel!
After Lucy and Edmund return from Narnia, Susan and Peter refuse to believe Lucy about what she's found.
Which frankly makes no sense, as Edmund was clearly there too, but whatever.
Lucy then runs away, and it's up to the older siblings to find her before the housekeeper, Mrs. McCready, does. Oh, and Peter's in his element here as he can carry on punching the furniture.
It really looks like Peter's got some major anger management issues.
There are these weird parts of the level where you need to break through some large crates.
Hurry! Let's hide!
But every time you simply hit one of the crates, Mrs. McCready starts approaching, and you need to hide before she finds you.
What is that?
It is absolutely ridiculous. Every single time you punch a crate, you have to hide from her.
What is that?
I mean, don't get me wrong, the strategy works, it's just a really slow way of doing it. After a while, Lucy's hiding places just get less and less inspired. Oh, come on, love, you're not even trying anymore.
I love that she's just standing there ominously like the creepy twins from The Shining.
Come and play with us.
Before long, a flock of bats starts swarming the room. And you're immediately prompted to switch to Susan, as she's the only one who can throw tennis balls to get rid of them. Sorry, I couldn't say that line seriously because this is so stupid, honestly.
And action.
And you're immediately prompted to switch to Susan, as she's the only one who can throw tennis balls to get rid of them.
What?
Yeah, this is an unexpected turn of events. I feel like they just didn't know what to do with Susan at this point. Eventually we find Edmund, who can use his pole climbing ability. The fuck is this game, man?
And action.
Eventually we find Edmund, who can use his pole climbing ability to climb a drain pipe to let us back in the house.
Where have those children got to? What on earth was that?
Really? What crawled up this woman's arse? She needs a friggin' hobby.
So anyway, the kids escape to Narnia, and this is where the game finally gets going, as you'd probably expect, it being called The Chronicles of Narnia. Remember the team-up abilities I mentioned earlier? Well, here we're introduced to another questionable move. If you come across a collapsible rock column, Peter or Susan can grab their little brother Edmund and repeatedly smash him against the column until it falls. Jesus Christ, what is this?
You know, I'd comment on this some more, but I'm genuinely speechless. This game is fucking great already.
And the icing on the cake is Peter's comment immediately afterwards.
You okay?
Are you okay? I mean, what do you think, honestly?
Yeah, I've got concussion and a few broken limbs, but other than that, you know, I'm right as rain.
Fighting in this game is alright, I guess. Aside from the standard button mashing, you can also perform combo moves that you can unlock over the course of the game. And they are mostly effective. But the combos I used most frequently were the Bane combos. And it basically allows you to eliminate a certain enemy in one hit. The thing is though, it's exactly the same combo move for every enemy, and repeatedly pressing the same buttons over and over gets very tedious, as you might expect. Lucy, meanwhile, has the unusual ability to tame enemies. Her main attack is pretty weak, but once she's earned the ability to tame a certain enemy, after a few hits she can ride them and use their attacks to defeat other enemies in the vicinity. Yeah, this seems a little dangerous for an 8-year-old.
Still, I guess it's a step up from Yeet the Child.
Throughout the game, you find bonus shields. Collecting these helps to boost your overall percentage. The higher your percentage, the more bonus items you unlock in the bottom drawer of the level select, which we'll talk about later. The shields can be found in a variety of ways. Sometimes they're stood in plain sight, but many can be accessed by defeating certain enemies or hitting random objects for an inconveniently long time. However, some methods of retrieving these things are incredibly obscure. There were a few levels on my first playthrough where I barely managed to find any bonus shields at all. Really, they are that hard to find. In this level, for example, almost all of the bonus shields can be found by sliding down a slope into the ice. The thing is, they never even tell you that crashing into the ice rewards you with anything. I mean, wouldn't you naturally assume you were supposed to avoid the obstacles rather than purposely crash into them? Now and again you'll come across thin ice, and you need to use either Edmund or Lucy to tiptoe across to mark a safe path. Yeah, I guess the smallest children are also the most expendable. Gee, I bet poor Lucy wishes she'd never found this place.
If she dies, she dies. It's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
Lucy Pevensey.
Eventually we find this beaver, creatively named, well, Beaver, who escorts us through Narnia.
You know, I feel like this name would just cause confusion. Are there no other beavers here?
Beaver helps gnaw away at the blockages in our path while we take care of the surrounding enemies. Peter and Edmund can also use one-handed weapons to inflict more damage, and they can also burn objects if their weapon is alight. By contrast, Susan can throw snowballs to put the fires out. Looks like her tennis ball throwing ability isn't just limited to tennis balls. Fascinating stuff.
You might say controlling Susan at this stage is just balls.
Lucy, meanwhile, is able to cure her siblings with the first aid ability. This is dependent on how full the meter is, and now and again you find these green crosses that refill the meter. Finding a bow will allow Susan to use arrows from a distance. And now and again you can use fire to increase their power. We're also introduced to Susan's panpipes, which can be used to lull enemies to sleep, such as this ogre. Later upgrades also allow you to use the panpipes to reveal hidden bonus items and statues. Wait, panpipes revealing objects? This sounds familiar.
Hey guys, Peter Pan called. He wants his panpipes back.
The rest of this level basically sees you having to avoid the ogre.
What are you doing in my swamp?
Although the next level is an ogre boss fight, which rather begs the question, why did we waste all that time hiding? Anyway, this was the first major difficulty spike for me. I really strongly dislike this level. After hitting the ogre a number of times, you can gradually use the kids to pile on the ogre to weigh him down and stop his attacks, giving you the chance to take him out.
So we basically have to potentially sacrifice the kids one by one in order to win. Great. Merry Christmas, kids, and a Happy New Year. Oh no, wait.
In all honesty, this sounds a clever idea in principle, but the level is incredibly tedious. The biggest annoyance is not the ogre himself, but the other enemies, particularly the ghouls. They move around so quickly, you can't escape them, and they just don't stop respawning. Will you just leave me alone? I imagine playing this game with an equally adept second player would be far more bearable, as playing this game alone can be quite the challenge. It would be far better if the AI-controlled characters actually did useful things instead of just pottering about not knowing what to do. Dum-de-dum. Did you need something?
Come on, guys, this isn't time for a leisurely stroll. Jesus!
That was close.
Now, with that annoying boss level out of the way, I bet you're thinking things won't be nearly as annoying in the next level.
Well, think again, my friend.
It's at this point we find that Edmund has been coerced to betray his siblings by the White Witch.
Oh, not that White Witch.
How dare you come alone?
That's the one.
And she sends her wolves to kill the kids and the beavers. Here, Beaver once again tries to gnaw through a blockage in the path, and it's your job to protect him from the nearby dangers, including wolves and boggles. Beaver will also sometimes be taken hostage by a ghoul that you'll need to chase down to free him. Now, this probably doesn't sound too bad, but is it bloody exhausting? As soon as you've fixed one problem, another one presents itself almost immediately. The wolves, boggles, and ghouls repeatedly respawn over and over and over, and it gets infuriating fast. Also, I really do think this game could do with more explanation at times. When I played this and I saw the wolves appear, it was obvious that I needed to do something about them, but I had no clue where to find them, and since I was timed, I failed the mission several times before I found out where they were and what to do. Next, poor old Lucy narrowly avoids hypothermia while escorting us across a frozen lake. And by the way, the checkpoints in this game never fail to frighten the life out of me.
Jesus Christ!
Throughout the game, you also find statues. If you hit them a few times, you can collect them. Which is kinda weird considering that they're actually people turned to stone by the witch. We're collecting people, guys. That's a bit weird. There's no explanation as to what we're collecting these things for just yet, but they come in handy a little later on. Before too long, we meet none other than Father Christmas, who gives the children some very useful presents.
One drop will cure any injury.
Lucy receives the Fire Flower Cordial, which basically increases her healing ability. Susan receives a new bow with a limitless supply of arrows, as well as an ivory horn to summon help, which comes in handy later. And finally, Peter is given a powerful sword.
Lucky bastards! All I got last year was socks!
Immediately after this, we make it to the Great River, where we need to ride down the rapids, and this is as annoying as it looks. It's incredibly difficult to avoid the obstacles on the way down, and it's partly because the camera is so unnecessarily far away. Sometimes it feels as though you die for seemingly no reason. It's just painful.
That is Cair Paraval, the castle of the Four Thrones.
After finally meeting Aslan, we have to defeat Morgrim the Wolf. In order to win, you need to make Lucy and Susan hide in a tree when prompted, and then use Peter to attack Morgrim when he's distracted. It's easy enough to beat, but a little strange to me that losing 2 members of your party is the only way to win this. Either way, this boss is pretty straightforward.
Hurry!
This is followed by a level in which we need to rescue Edmund from the White Witch's clutches. The team-up ability is pretty useful here, as ridiculous as it looks. The problem I have is activating it. Often the AI-controlled character refuses to keep still, or the enemies swarm you so you can't move close to them, and it can take a few attempts to get the pair to do what you want them to do. A little further along, Edmund and Peter climb these trees, and the idea is to kick and swipe at the encroaching enemies. The problem is, they don't explicitly tell you this is what you need to do, or indeed what buttons you should be pressing, so I guarantee most kids would fail this on their first attempt. And even when you figure out what to do, repeatedly tapping the same buttons over and over isn't really all that engaging.
Edmund, hold on! Peter, something's coming!
Hold on, my kings! We're here!
And now, you'll be relieved to know that the next level takes a small break from the constant fighting.
Oh, thank goodness. I was feeling exhausted. It would be good to take a break.
Indeed, here we're introduced to everybody's favourite thing in these video games, a stealth section.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Here you need to avoid the gaze of the patrolling centaurs. Throughout the level, Susan needs to play her panpipes in order to put the centaurs to sleep so they can sneak past. The problem is that there's no way of knowing that the centaur will come charging for you.
Isn't it a little late to be creeping around the camp? Return to your tent.
Was this the best take they had? Project, man! Make me feel the fear!
Oh, but just when you think the game can't get even worse.
Oh dear God, please stop.
We're then confronted with a terrible battle level as we come face to face with the White Witch's army. Frankly, I think this level is horrendous. All you're told is that you need to defeat the giants, but really you have to defeat a lot of things, and for some reason in a particular order. They don't specify why this is, but whatever. The giants will approach you while you take out a specific group of enemies. If the giants reach your battalion before you finish the enemies off, you lose. But if you manage to defeat the group of enemies, a random area of the field will become highlighted, and you need to stand precisely in that spot to instruct your army to attack.
Archers! Fire!
Thus eliminating one of the giants. There is no rhyme or reason as to why you have to stand in a specific spot to do this. It's just another pointless detail they included to try and piss you off.
And trust me, it does the job.
Now, the giants can sneak up on you pretty quickly. The only way you can stall them is by pushing these sticks into them to make them stumble backwards. But Jesus Christ, this is so frustrating. I swear I came so close to rage quitting here. To begin with, moving the sticks is an intolerably slow process, and the enemies are relentless. They're constantly on your tail, and it makes it extremely awkward to aim the sticks as they will not leave you alone. To make matters worse, the giants repeatedly cause these tremors, which not only knock you down, but also temporarily destroy the sticks.
Honestly, this level is a nightmare of gigantic proportions. You see what I did there?
So we then take control of Lucy and Susan as we storm the witch's castle, the idea being to find a way to ward off the black smoky things hiding the statues. Hitting all the statues will then allow you to use the horn to summon their help.
What? He literally just walked through a door. Could we not have done that ourselves?
Also, it's rather awkward playing these melodies with all the enemies around. It's a bit inconvenient. Do you mind? I'm trying to play! This is followed by yet another battle level, although this one isn't nearly as awkward as the last one. At the beginning, you need to trade the statues you've collected to buy reinforcements. So, yeah, I guess the people of Narnia are commodities now. Well, alright then. Now, the reinforcements obviously do make things a little easier. The problem I had was that I didn't realize there would be wave upon wave of enemies, so I wound up using up almost all of my reinforcements some way into the second wave. So now it's just 4 children versus an entire army. Sorry guys. Either way, aside from it being rather boring, I managed to get through this level just fine. By contrast, I found the final battle against the White Witch to be very irritating. In order to cause some damage, you need to perform some specific moves. And this is fine until you need to push a burning bundle of sticks into her. Just like the giant fight, this is incredibly awkward to aim, and it took me several attempts to do it right. Once you've hit her enough times, you get to use the horn again, which summons Aslan to eat her face.
Finally! Please tell me it's over.
It is finished.
Oh, thank you, God!
But it's not quite over yet. As you progress in the game, you unlock special bonuses, accessible at the bottom of the wardrobe. Your percentage determines what you unlock, and these bonuses range from cast interviews and behind-the-scenes material to, bonus levels.
There's more? Oh.
Yeah, I love that this is intended as a prize, when really this is the worst prize imaginable in my eyes. The bonus levels require you to fight a number of creatures, survive within a certain time limit, or tame specific creatures. And I'm not sure if it's just me, but the difficulty of some of these is unbearable. As I said earlier, I think it might be more manageable with a second player, but in single player mode, it's bloody hard work for a kids game. And by the way, as for the behind the scenes stuff, seeing the kids play as themselves is weirdly wholesome.
This is a good game, I like it.
Their faces just light up when they see their own game selves, which is not the response I would have expected. That said, they never really show Lucy's reaction to her game model. I have to wonder if that was, conveniently removed. Imagine being shown this and being told it was supposed to be you. It would surely give you a complex.
Yeah, that poor girl's probably been traumatized for life.
How wonderful!
It's pretty obvious just by looking at this game that it's far from the worst movie game ever made. There's some commendable features here. The moves themselves might be absolutely ridiculous, but they at least made each character unique with their own abilities. I'll be honest though, I really do not like this game. The unresponsive AI makes it far too difficult at times, and the enemies are just too much. The combo moves and team-up abilities aren't the worst, but the fighting feels constant, and I personally think it gets really boring. I actually can't believe it's from the same developers as the A Bug's Life and Toy Story 2 games, both of which were fantastic. For fans of the movie, it's a decent enough experience, but it's not what I'd call a roaring success.
Ugh, jeez. You trying to give me a heart attack or something? Hey everyone. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll be back sometime in the new year. Reviews next year might be a little more sporadic than they have been this year, simply because I've got a lot of real life stuff I need to focus on. But in any case, I will be back. At least I plan to be. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.
What is that?
Come and play with us.